Disclaimer: this video will contain my personal opinion. I'm not just going to blindly hate on a game because that's the quote-unquote cool thing to do. However, I'm also not going to be blindly praising this game. Everything that I will be saying in this video is my honest thoughts about the game. I'm going to talk about things that I both genuinely liked about it, as well as things that I didn't. I am in no way paid by Activision to say the things that I like about this game. But, without further ado, let's begin. So the reason I have that disclaimer at the beginning of this video is because the reception towards Black Ops 7 before it has even come out is unlike anything I've ever seen before, and I was around when Infinite Warfare came out. I have not seen a game be this hated before it's even been released in my life. So, considering that I've played the beta, does it warrant all the hate? Like, is this game really as bad as people are making it out to be? No, not really. Not in my opinion, at least. I get that it's the cool thing to do to just blindly hate on this game and say things like, oh, Battlefield 6 is so much better, or whatever. And, I mean, whether you actually agree with that or not, just the amount of repetition that I've seen through this, it's just been kind of getting annoying, honestly. And this isn't coming from somebody that hates Battlefield. Hell, I've been a fan of Battlefield almost as long as I've been a fan of Call of Duty. The only problem is Battlefield has not had a good game in about 10 years, and, well, people have said the same thing about Call of Duty, but there actually have been quite a few fun Call of Duty games over the past few years. So, I'm going to be totally honest with my opinions about the beta today. I'm going to talk about things that I genuinely enjoyed, and I'm also going to talk about things that I hated. But enough stalling, let's just jump straight into it. Also, this video is only talking about the multiplayer, and Zombies is going to be in the beta, and I will have a separate video talking about the Zombies and my thoughts on the beta for that. If you're interested in that, I will leave a link in the description when that is up, but just wanted to throw that out there that I'm only touching multiplayer for this video. So let's start off with some things that I genuinely did enjoy about this game, things that I really did like. And the first one being actually just how the game plays as a whole in terms of the movement and the gunplay. I do actually think it's really good. It plays about the same as something similar to like Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 2, and those two are very fun, Black Ops 2 especially being my favorite Call of Duty game in terms of multiplayer. So having a game that plays pretty similar to that is actually really nice, I'm not gonna lie. Another thing that I genuinely have to give Black Ops 7 credit for is just how much they improved from Black Ops 6. They actually listened to quite a bit of community feedback about Black Ops 6, and most of the stuff that people complained about with Black Ops 6, even if I didn't really say so in the beta review, I actually did agree with some of it. For example, the maps, while I do think that they are overhated, they're not as bad as everybody says that they are. There's not any, like, standout hits. They're all kind of floating around like the C tier, maybe low B tier at the best kind of deal. But this game actually does have pretty good maps. I especially like Exposure a lot. However, I think a big portion of that is due to how these maps kind of incorporate the movement. I do think that that also is done very well in this game, especially considering games like the Jetpack games, where there were a couple of maps where they didn't really seem to use the movement all that well. In this game, at least from the maps that were in the beta, there were plenty of opportunities to use the new wall jump mechanic, which I don't think is too extreme compared to Black Ops 6, but I do think it adds another nice layer of movement by adding some more verticality to the maps. And this also applies to Zombies as well, since they're obviously part of the same game. But I do like having that extra little bit of verticality in some of these maps, and I do think it can lead to some pretty cool moments. Another thing that I genuinely have to give Black Ops 7 credit for is that the score streaks now actually aren't a pain in the ass to obtain, unlike in Black Ops 6, and they actually do feel rewarding to get and powerful enough for the tiers that they are, whether they're low tier, mid tier, or high tier streaks. There are a couple, and one in particular is pretty overpowered, but overall, I think that they did a fine job, for the most part at least, balancing the streaks in terms of their effectiveness and their prices. And another thing that I do have to give this game credit for, and this was originally something that I was going to bitch about, I had an entire section dedicated to this before I ended up scrapping it, because they actually did fix this, and this is the skill-based matchmaking. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not somebody that usually bitches about skill-based matchmaking. I'm somebody that likes to play these games for fun, and that be the beginning and end of it. However, the first day of this beta, the skill-based matchmaking seemed like it was turned up to 11. It was actually kind of ridiculous how much skill-based matchmaking there was. I could do perfectly fine one match, and then the next match I would be getting absolutely destroyed. Like, it was insane. However, they did add the open mosh pit playlist after the first day of the beta, which basically turned down the skill-based matchmaking. And I'm not gonna lie, even as somebody who is absolutely dog shit at multiplayer, I fucking love this. Like, this is genuinely some of the most fun I've had in terms of Call of Duty in a very, very long time, especially when it comes to multiplayer. I'm somebody who, even though I am garbage at the game, like, I'm not gonna even hide the fact that I'm not good at this game. I've been playing ever since I was 6 years old with the original Black Ops, like the one that came out in 2010, and I've been a fan of the series ever since. Hell, Black Ops 2 to this day is my favorite Call of Duty game and is among my top 5 favorite games of all time. And I haven't had a game replicate how much fun that game was until this game came around with its I wouldn't say anti-skill-based matchmaking, because it is still there to an extent. It's just heavily reduced compared to any game since 2019. Now, I know I'm not the only person who's talked about skill-based matchmaking. Hell, it's a subject that I try to avoid just because of how overdone the topic is. Like, if this were a steak, it would be damn near thrown into a volcano. But I'm going to be honest when I say that even though I'm what you would probably consider somebody who would benefit from skill-based matchmaking, considering I am total dog shit at the game, I actually prefer the open mosh pit for one very simple reason. And that's that when I actually finally do good in a lobby, it actually feels earned. That's something that even if I was getting my ass handed to me 5 matches in a row when I was playing with the previous games, I never really liked finally having that one match where I did really well, because it didn't feel earned. It just felt more of like a pity party kind of thing that Call of Duty would just toss me an easy match to kind of drown it out. While it would be sort of nice to have those every once in a while, the problem more, at least in my opinion, lies with the fact that it doesn't feel earned, whereas in this mosh pit with the reduced skill-based matchmaking, whenever I do good, I genuinely feel like I deserved to do good in that match. Now, again, I've had like one match where everybody on the enemy team was playing like this was their first time ever touching a video game, but aside from that, most of the matches where I did go positive, I felt like I genuinely like earned it. And the matches where I went negative, I still had a lot of fun playing, and I understood why I went negative. So, with all that being said, it sounds like I absolutely love this beta. Like, I genuinely had a ton of fun with it, and you might even be sitting there thinking that the hate is pretty overblown with this game. And while I would agree that the amount of hate that this game has gotten has been a little bit insane, there are some very big glaring issues with this game that I do want to talk about, so we're gonna move over to that section now. So the first problem I have with the beta is actually not really a problem with the beta, but it's more of a worry that I have for the full game and the franchise moving forward, and it relates to the skill-based matchmaking in the open mosh pit. And there's been a huge discussion on whether or not it's going to be reverted. Now, the reason this is even being brought up is because that Activision has done tests in the past where they have lowered skill-based matchmaking to try and collect data, and then they would come back and say that with the lower skill-based matchmaking, it resulted in a player retention being lower, more people leaving lobbies, etc. And on one hand, I do understand that the people who play this game casually aren't going to want to stick around in a match where they get absolutely destroyed. Hell, if I'm, like, spawning in to a game and I'm going, like, 0 to 10 within the first minute, yeah, I don't usually tend to stay around for that. However, those moments are very rare for me, especially as somebody who is actually not very good at the game. I still very rarely have matches like that. And while I do think that people are in the right for discussing this potential elephant in the room of, oh, they could just go back on this, or they can say that the player retention is much lower than how it was without the open mosh pit, I think that Activision has seen just how, like, positive people have been responding to the SBMM situation, like, with them putting in this open mosh pit. Like, there were people that absolutely hated this game before it even came out, but now that they announced this, there are people, like, actually trying to play the beta now, which I think is a really good step in the right direction, and I think that Activision would probably see this, and I would say most likely would stay with this decision, because they know, I feel like they would know if they went back on this, then there would be so many people outraged. Honestly, even, again, as somebody who isn't very good at the game, and I know I keep saying that, but I gotta keep reiterating that, I would honestly be pretty upset if they didn't bring back the open mosh pit, or just even keep it as a thing in all of the games moving forward. Now, I do also hear people saying that there shouldn't be a mosh pit, like, or there shouldn't even be a playlist option, this should just be how the game is, and honestly, I'm kind of split on it. I definitely do think it's more fun to have this open mosh pit, but I could also understand the people who want to play casually and want to, you know, have the skill-based matchmaking turn on. I could understand both sides of the argument, but personally, I'm on the side that really likes the open mosh pit, and I do hope that they keep it and they add it to games later on in the series. The only thing I will say, though, is that I really do hope they add an open mosh pit for hardcore. I don't know if that's something that they'll end up implementing in the beta. I mean, this video will probably come out after the beta's over, so I doubt that they will. But I do hope that they add, or at least consider adding, an open mosh pit for hardcore modes, because especially when I'm camo grinding, that's the mode that I tend to gravitate towards. However, aside from skill-based matchmaking, I do have some other issues with this game. The first being a specific score streak, and it's the Gravemaker. You already know what I'm about to be talking about. Now, I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be, because there are ways to counter it. However, I do still think it is a little bit ridiculous. However, at the same time, I am happy that they actually brought the Storm PSR into multiplayer, but I'm very mixed on this. Like, I feel like it's one of those streaks where when you're the one using it, it's genuinely a ton of fun, but if you're the one going up against it, you absolutely hate your life. So overall, though, I do seem pretty positive about this beta, and people are probably wondering, wait, when are you gonna start talking about stuff that you dislike? Well, I'm gonna start now, because there is one fucking thing in this beta that I cannot fucking stand. And it is one word. The motherfucking doors. Wait, that's 3 words. Now, again, I know that they've heard the reception towards the doors and they've tweaked it and lowered the amount, but I don't think that's enough. Honestly, I just think they should completely remove doors from this game. Now, it's not as bad as something like Modern Warfare 2019, but the same kind of problem is there, where people will just sit behind these and wait for people to run through. Now, you can shoot the doors to open them, but that basically means that if you're not using a suppressor, you're basically giving away your position, and even if you're not using, or even if you are using a suppressor and somebody happens to be camping the door, you're basically giving yourself away to let them know that you're about to be coming through that door. And I think that the beta would be so much better without them. Like, I genuinely do think that the game would just be better if they completely removed doors from the game. And the second thing that I have to genuinely complain about in terms of the beta is the spawns. If you're not playing a mode like Domination or Hardpoint, the spawns are absolutely all over the place with no real flow to them, and even when you are playing the game modes like Hardpoint or Domination or even Overload, the spawns flip so frequently that it's kind of insane. So with all of that being said, with all of the praise that I've actually given this game, where I've been actually looking very positively towards it, and very few complaints that I actually have, or at least still do by the time that the beta is done, is there, like, would I recommend getting this game? It depends. Now, before you start calling me a hypocrite saying, oh, you played the beta, you pre-ordered the game, and you're saying that people shouldn't get it, let me explain myself here. So, first of all, I'm going to be making a bunch of content on this game, and I'm going to have a ton of stuff to do with this game, considering all the post-launch content, the mastery camos, etc. So I will be able to make a ton of content on this game, and I'm going to be very busy with this game for a very long time. So I'm most likely going to get my money's worth from this game. However, if you're somebody who didn't like Black Ops 6, or you're just tired of the Call of Duty games, or whatever it may be, honestly, if this was like a $30 game, I would still recommend it, but for 70 or 80 bucks, I just think that it's a little bit much for this game. Now listen, I'm not going to be the one to tell you how to spend your money. If you really want to put $70 into this game, or, you know, pay for Game Pass to have access to this game technically for free, then be my guest, go right ahead. I mean, but honestly, I just think that the price is a little bit high for this game, but I mean, that's how most AAA games are. The one thing that I will say, though, is that if you're somebody who is sick of Call of Duty, you're probably not going to like this. But if you're somebody who isn't necessarily tired of Call of Duty and you go into this game with an open mind, I do think that you will genuinely enjoy this game. Hell, I was skeptical of this game before it came out, and I went into this game with an open mind, and I'm gonna be honest, I really enjoyed myself this time. So, but overall, that's just my opinion. If you played the beta and you dislike it, or if you're not interested in Black Ops 7 in the slightest, then that's totally fine. That's just your opinion. However, when it comes to the whole Call of Duty versus Battlefield debate, I'm gonna be playing both. Play whatever you want. Like, if somebody's going to talk shit about you because you're playing Call of Duty over Battlefield or the other way around, tell them to fuck off. Like, it does not matter. If you like a game, that's your opinion. As long as if you're happy, that's all that matters at the end of the day. But those were my honest thoughts on the Black Ops 7 beta. Like I said, I'm not getting paid to say these things. I wasn't flown out to COD Next. I mean, I feel like I shouldn't have to say these things, considering my subscriber count and stuff. But if you're just a random person on the internet saying you like Call of Duty, you're called a corporate shill now, so I feel like I have to add that disclaimer. But overall, if you guys want to see more content on Black Ops 7 when that fully releases, or some other games, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Without further ado though, this was Mob Spider, and I will see you guys shortly with the Zombies beta review.